Situations and conversations with Trey Renee. Real situations, real conversations. Empowering the community leads to elevation. Entertainment and education, no better time than now. Pure enlightenment for the crowd. This is Situations and Conversations with Trey Renee.
Today on Situations and Conversations, we're talking mental health, hip-hop, and healing right here in Portland. Meet Christopher Scott, also known as the hip-hop social worker. He's breaking stigmas one verse at a time through storytelling, workshops, and raw conversation, using the power of culture to break cycles and build connection. Get ready for an informative discussion around culture and community to change how we talk about mental health. So buckle up, buttercups. The conversation starts now. I am sitting here with the hip-hop social worker himself, Christopher Scott. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here, especially because the name is so intriguing. Hip-hop social worker. Now, being a social worker myself, I never thought about putting a little moniker in front of it.
For sure.
But I kind of like it. I'm intrigued. Explain to me what the hip-hop social worker movement or you are all about.
Right. So it really was just a kind of way to be myself authentically. When I was getting into social work, I remember being in class and somebody was talking about this social worker. I love their work. Okay. And I was like, well, I want to be like regarded like that. Somebody say, well, I love that. I love that guy's work. So really, it's just something that represents, me being my authentic self, me coming from the hip hop era, hip hop generation. I consider myself, like the way I dress. I mean, it's how I would dress to go to work. You know what I mean? So really, well, I won't wear the hat, but yeah, the way I talk, the way I present myself is hip hop. So I feel like I wanted to keep that as part of, my social work practice. So the hip hop social worker, and it sounded catchy at the time.
It's still catchy.
Right. Okay.
It's still very catchy. It's okay, I come from hip hop, right?
For sure. Yeah.
Full disclosure, born in the year of hip hop. So I am hip hop. Okay. 1973. Let's go. Right.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, but I'm curious as to how you blend the hip hop with the social work.
Right. So it's really not, I'm not like blending it per se. It's just really about like how I show up, right? So it's really about me, myself. The practice, I do, encourage people to, to be themselves, to be who they are, because I feel like that's what I was missing when I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody trying to promote, me as like a person who had enough, to make it. I feel like a lot of my practice is to try to help people see, that they are whole, that they have, what it takes to do whatever they want to do.
Tell me about the work that you do. So you mentioned you work with adolescents.
For sure. Yeah. I'm a school social worker. Yeah. But before that, I was a therapist. And I worked in several different settings. I worked in hospitals. I worked at juvenile jails. I've worked at foster care programs, mainly with, kids from ages of like 5 to, in OIA, you could be 25, and be, in the facility. So that was the age. I've only worked with adults in my practice for 1 year, and it was fine. But I feel like, with students, they're a little more impressionable, they're a little more, I don't want to use the word appreciative, but they're in like a special stage of life, where if they hear the right thing, it can really take them off.
Yeah, I agree. There's something about working with young people when they're still sort of open to ideas and moldable, right? And so the work that you do, I'm sure they see you coming and they probably go, You're my therapist? Sure. You're my social worker, right?
I've gotten that before, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. How do the parents receive you as the hip hop social worker?
A lot of parents don't really know that about me, because it's like something I do like for side work. They do now for sure. Yeah. Parents appreciate my approach because I'm, I keep it real. I'm pretty honest. I reach out. Even when I have bad news or no news at all, I still reach out just to kind of see how they're doing. Mm-hmm. If I can help in any kind of way, a big part of my practice is along with being themselves is me being transparent. I know as far as work goes, I know I feel better when the people that I work for or work with are transparent. So I I try to do the same, like I'm a big person of like, act how you want to be treated, what I'm saying? So treat us how you want to be treated. So
Sure.
I really try my hardest, if I want people to be transparent with me, I'm so transparent with them. I'm patient. I want people to be patient with me as well. So I try to do all those things. I'm not perfect, but I
Right. No one
really try to do
is.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what I like and what I'm getting is that transparency helps build trust, which is so important
For sure.
in the relationship when you are working with anyone on any sort of emotional, mental health issues, things that run the gamut. So what kind of things are you seeing in our young people today? You're in the schools. You're right in the mix.
Right, for sure. Students are trying to be efficient. We do struggle with attendance at my school, but it's not because, well, there's a lot of reasons, but from one reason I see a student is like, well, do I got to come today? Like, is it affecting my grade? If it's not, then
So it's on some make it make sense.
right. A lot of our young people want to make it make sense. So and in some ways, I'm like, it's kind of frustrating because I do think that like you do learn a lot when you're at school, but in some ways I get it. It's like if you can figure out a way to make things work. I mean, there's people out here when it was work from home, they was working several different side hustles, and it's like
True.
that's
It's
kinda,
true.
So
There's like a cultural shift though
Right.
since COVID, right? I think COVID changed a lot of things in the way we do things, and people trying to force everybody to go back to the old way or the pre-COVID way is not necessarily working.
I don't think so, and I feel like if you ask teachers, they say it's a shift from before it was COVID and after COVID how students are, and you can hate it, you can love it, but I feel and being a social worker, you got to figure out a way to work with it. It's like, are you going to be going against the current? You don't want to do that. So like, a lot of our students are really trying to, students still do have dreams. They still do want to do big things. I know we get a lot of people talking about students are lazy, students are this, students are that, but students still want to go out and live life. I talk to students every day about, their goals and what they want to do. And I try to tell them that, being in college is cool. I've done it, but if you really want to do something like you're in the era right now where you can turn your phone on and stream from wherever you're at, or you can,
and make money.
Right.
It's crazy. I mean, now here's the rub though. A lot of these young people feel like that's all they have to do, right?
A lot more than that.
It takes so much to make money at being an influencer on social media,
Sure, yeah.
a streamer. I mean, it can take years and even then, it just kind of all depends, right? It's like not necessarily guaranteed just because you can pop your phone on and make a video.
For sure.
But speaking of which, with the access that all the young people have, what, besides attendance, are you seeing as sort of any sort of behavioral issues or anything in the young people that you interact with on a daily?
I mean, I do see a lot of, unfortunately, there is some drug use, to a point where, it is pretty concerning because, they're doing it at school sometimes,
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I know I sound like, of course, they're like, of course kids are doing it at school, but where I'm coming from in my era, that was like, you had to be pretty bold. I mean, the most you might do is, maybe smoke a cigarette or something in the bathroom and try and hurry up. But these kids are really getting after it.
For sure. And, I feel like it's just a different way to cope. Our world has changed so much that we have so much information out there that, like instead of us trying to like operate how the old way worked, kind of like, have your head in the sand and, ignore it, it'll go away. No, everything is for, all these kids, just like us, we can go to the internet and we can find out whatever we need to find out. Right. So, but I don't think it's a reason to like be like worried or be concerned. It's just, to me, it felt like an invitation to change how we treat symptoms. I do think that, what our kids are going through is a symptom of our world. Like they might see us stressed out, they might see the world stressed out, and, they don't want to deal with that. So, I mean, just like us, we don't want to do that.
I certainly don't, right? Or you have that feeling of like, start to have this hopelessness when you look at so much stuff, you have so much access to see what's happening around the world, all the violence and all the disproportionate acts, right?
They make stuff look fun, so we got to take that, with a grain of salt too. Like, yes, the information's out there, but we also should, have more prevention, more, more real talk. I try to be honest as I can with students. Like, like I've been there before I did all that. I'm letting you know that it could end certain ways. You should probably watch out because, yeah, it's not always as glitzy and glamorous. Sometimes the fun's not worth it. Yeah. And, you don't know that until it's too late.
Say that again. And then it literally is just that. It's too late, right? Yeah. So talk to me a little bit. I want to get back into the hip hop piece again, because I just love this moniker of yours, this hip hop social worker. Do you ever use any music to kind of reach the young people?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. And so that being said, how do you incorporate that when you're having your meetings with the kids?
We talk about song breakdown, like a lot of students I work with listen to, hip hop music, some of them, are artists themselves. So we can talk about song breakdowns, what songs mean, how to, what songs pull them up from their, low moments, yeah. So we just talk about music and how it's more symbolic than just entertaining.
I like the idea of the playlist. Yeah. I think that's really cool. So like you can help these young people have their own sort of individualized playlist to, I don't know, kind of mirror how they're feeling or uplift if they need to.
Yeah.
Do you ever tell young people, okay, this is not the type of music you need to be listening to because your particular set of issues, this may take you over the edge? Some songs are, of course, I'm thinking about something old school, right? I'm old school. Like Eminem's, Stan, right? Like some people are like, ooh, that's a lot. That's a heavy song, right?
Sure,
this talks about a lot of things. Suicide, young pregnancies and all sorts of things out there.
I don't say you should do this or you should do that. But what I do is say, I do ask, like, why does that song mean so much? Or, what happens when you listen to that song? So stuff like that. I try not to be like, oh, don't do this, don't do that. I try to, get clarification, because they're at the age where they can tell me why, oh, this is that song because of this, or this is that song because of that, so I try to ask for clarification for sure.
Well, speaking of asking, how do you ever, like, I know you said you talk to the parents every now and then, but for the viewers out here who have young people and they're not really talking to their parents, right? I don't know about you, but I'll speak for me. I have one child who she don't talk about hardly anything at all to me. It's like pulling teeth to get information. And you being the hip hop social worker and you reaching the young people, do you have any advice for parents or caregivers on how best to reach their children?
For sure. You got to create the space. A lot of students I talk to who might have those issues with their parents, they always say, I feel like my mom and dad's going to judge me or they're going to come down hard on me. They won't understand. Mm-hmm. So, what I was hearing is that, there's a miscommunication with how they're getting their message across, right? It needs to be at a point where, it's a judge-free zone. Now, you might be screaming in your brain, when stuff you're hearing. But it's like
it's simmering behind the eyes,
right? Yeah. But if they're not telling you as a parent, then they're telling somebody. So so I feel like you got to create a space where they feel comfortable. Now I know a lot of us come from old school parenting. You know what I mean? So like a lot of that is kind of like, even me, I practice some of the stuff that my dad was doing to me, and it's not really, I feel like it's not really like as effective, especially because he was raising 3 boys and I'm raising 2 girls. Yeah. I kind of want to be a little softer sometimes, but I do get caught up in my own stuff and start raising my voice and, but I do think that we got to work on creating a space. And, if you have insurance or if you're looking for, a service provider, go to therapy. If you feel like you and your kids, aren't communicating, there's nothing wrong with going to therapy.
Certainly not. Oh, we are advocates of therapy around here. Sure. 100%. Yeah. Thank our presenting sponsor, Oregon Health Authority. Make sure that we definitely have a platform where not only, people in the community are getting the information, but now all across the TV screens and the podcast zones and the streaming platforms, it's really important to get the help that we need and erase the stigma. And Oregon Health Authority has been amazing at helping get that word out. So thank you so much for what you're doing Continue to do your good work.
For sure.
I'm really not letting you go off that easy, though, because I want you to hang around for a little something we like to call Hey Trey. It's coming up.
It's time for Hey Trey. This is where I like to turn it up a bit and dig into those juicy situations you're having conversations about. Today we're talking hip hop today versus back in the day. We had Tupac, Biggie, Salt and Pepper, and MC Lyte. Kids today have Kendrick, Drake, Megan Thee Stallion, and Glorilla. But which era do you think is the best in rap?
All right. Look at this mix of people around the room. I have my producer and podcaster, Taylor, with us. We have the rapper. Okay, now, okay. Is it Vari?
It's Vari. Yeah, you got it.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, Vari's sitting here with us. And then, of course, we have the hip hop social worker. Chris is still hanging with us. So thank you guys for this Hey Trey segment. You know what? I decided to let my producer over here handle the hot topic of the day.
Yeah, appreciate it. So, look, as y'all know, it's been a kind of crazy year in hip hop the last year between Kendrick going on tour, hosting the Super Bowl award show. I had a lot of people talking on my timeline and comparing and asking, is this era in rap better than, say, like the 90s or early 2000s? So I was just curious, I got a rapper here with me, somebody who uses hip hop to help with behavioral health. What do y'all think?
I feel like when you say Kendrick, is he part of this era? Yeah. I mean, because I feel like he transcends from a little bit of the early 2000s. He just had longevity and like Jay-Z, it's the same thing. He's the 90s era for sure, but he still can rap. So is he part of this era too? So I feel like it's a lot of, because I wouldn't call Kendrick this era. I would call I don't know who I would call this era. You know what I'm saying? But he's still out for sure. Right. But I would give credit to him to early 2000s. Like it's that like J. Cole, Kendrick, Drake.
It's like the early 2010s, early 2010s.
Like that's that era. Yeah. But since I'm already talking, my favorite era, it had to be when I was in high school. You know what I'm saying? From like 2003 to when I got to college, like that 2008 era, I feel like because life was like so fun and like the music was so fun, to me, like that was like the best era.
Yeah, we had a lot of dance records back then.
Right, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like that, to me, like that's just, I gotta give it up to that because I was able to like be outside.
I'm an old soul, so I think I got the best of both worlds. I had a super old pops, so I was able to kind of come up on the 90s and the 80s rap. But I'm also 27, so I was the 10s was my era, right? And I think the difference between back then and now is that they did collaboration a lot better than we do now. And I think the beauty in music is collaboration, right? So I think I would kind of say the 90s got it, the 90s, 2000s. But like all of my favorite artists are the 10s, the Coles, the Kendricks, and so I think it just depends on where you hold your value.
And see, like I almost might say, I feel like the 2010s, like that blog era class, was better than the 90s. Real shoot. I think hip hop was just in its infancy for real. So like, if you have a classic album, we're gonna appreciate it more. Whereas with Cole, Drake, Wale, Meek, they all drop in. It's like, okay, now we on to the next thing. And then everybody got a smartphone too. So our attention spans just ain't even there no more.
We also got streaming right around that same time.
That's
around the 09, 10 era. So that's when streaming came along. And I think that changed the game completely. So again, like when you think about lyricism and, style of rap, I think the 10s and the new age, you got it for sure. But it's evolution, right? With anything, it's evolution. Michael Jordan can't do the same moves that Kyrie Irving did, but nobody's gonna say Kyrie's better than Michael Jordan. So setting the foundation, I think the 90s and the thousands was him.
Now I'm curious, right? Because you from the Bay, so like, what was when you coming up, what were y'all listening to?
Woo! Okay, first of all, my era starts a little earlier than y'all. I'm in the 80s, the 90s for sure, right? Like I have a little different of a trajectory. Okay, so like the Bay Area hip hop is a little different than anywhere.
Yeah,
I don't know if,
y'all got your own bounce.
It's all very like hyphy. We popping collars. We doing all of that. But for me, okay, my favorite rap group of all time is Tribe Called Quest.
Okay.
So I'm taking it way back. Beats, lyrics, vibe, all those things need to be checked for me. I need to also be able to feel like I can sing along or rap along.
Right.
I'm finding it very difficult to do that these days. And not just because the lyrics these days are more hardcore, because honestly, not. Case in point,
I love me some Doggy Style, that album. Snoop Dogg, I mean, and it is so misogynistic. It's so all the things. But why do my girlfriends and I sing it at the top of our lungs in an Uber with somebody who's driving and they're looking at us like we are absolutely crazy? Singing all the bad, really bad.
Because it's fire.
Really bad lyrics. But you can't help it. That's just how it was. I mean, it's what's fire is fire, right? And this is part of the reason why I was asking you, like, are there some songs where it's like, maybe not so much? Maybe that's not a great one for you to be listening to, considering maybe some of the issues that are going on, with whatever you have going on in your practice. But in general, growing up in the Bay, I had a huge appreciation for hip hop, period. It's music in the Bay Area was like huge because unlike LA, we didn't also have like the TV and movie stars and stuff. It was music intensive and music focused. And I started my career in hip hop on the radio. I feel like I've only been on 2 stations tops in my 30+ year career on the radio that didn't play hip hop on the regular. And I've watched it grow from being something that people thought was a fad, not going to make it, which is why I also, by the way, love the hip hop social worker moniker because it gives me hope, like hip hop does, in a very strange way, because it started off with people not believing in it, like people don't believe in us, right? And then it just kind of grew, and then you have people sort of embracing it, right? And then you have the culture vulture come along, and culture vultures are out here, and they want to take what's not theirs
for sure
and make it theirs and then make a whole lot of money at it.
Or even people trying to say like, okay, these rappers always talk about misogynistic stuff or violence, this, that, and the third. And I'm curious what you could, just because I know what you do professionally, like outside of making music. Do you feel like rappers have a responsibility to have like conscious lyrics or, kind of curb kids away from that type of stuff? Or, for people that are involved with that type of lifestyle, should they just speak that truth?
Yeah.
That's a really good question. I think, I always push being authentic in your music. And I think one thing that a lot of old heads and people that kind of come from the real hip hop foundation kind of overlook is that a lot of these kids are speaking that truth. So I think when you are, I think evolution is everything, right? So you can come in the game one way, you can speak your truth, but I want to see you elevate in it. I take like Mozzie, for example, as a really good example, right? I think he came in super street, super speaking his truth, and I think he's grown and evolved over the last 10 years to where now people respect him from an OG lens, right? So I think you got to find a mixture of both. You got to infiltrate the system, but you also got to be the spook by the door, and you got to change the system when you're in it. So I think even with my music, that how I portray myself, where I work, I'm Mr. Christmas everywhere I go, right? So I have to be myself. I have to be authentically me in my music. And I always say I make music that people grow into and not grow out of. And I think a lot of the industry now is making music that people will grow out of. And I think longevity is everything. So again, I think you gotta have a perfect balance of the two.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing that's lacking with like the popular culture is like it's that balance, right? You're talking about, because I mean everybody ain't gonna be, out there protesting and things like that or speaking their mind, but the machine should push both. But the music these days, like it's all quick hitters. It's all like singles, and they all about having fun and doing fun stuff and doing fly stuff,
Flexing.
right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which is cool. You know what I'm saying? Because we all have those moments where where we want to flex, but we also need moments where we want to reflect and we want to see what's going on in the world, right?
I'll say this though, right? So to advocate for the younger dudes, I think there's a new infrastructure being built. And you talk about Bay Area, you talk about the movement that's happening in Vallejo with LaRussell. He's building a whole new infrastructure, the independent artists. So I think there is a lot of that out there, but similar to kind of like basketball, football, right? When it comes to recruiting, that's a lost art. So I think as consumers, we have to get back to the roots of going to find music that suits us, because I think there's a lot of it out there.
Yeah, it takes a little bit more digital, digging.
It's just not getting pushed by the masses, and that's.
How would you describe your rap style and you as a rapper?
I make life music. You know what I mean? I make music that is truly authentic to me. I always try to do it in a non-corny way, you would say, right? So I kind of like I bridge that gap between the two, between the old souls and the people that's pushing positivity and just what I come from. I come from North Portland, St. John, so I grew up around a lot of the stuff that you hear in these kids' music. But I also come from humble beginnings, and I think I went through it enough to be able to portray this message in a light. Like, you can still be cool and do it. You can still, make it where you want to make it, and be seen the way you want to be seen while pushing positivity and authenticity.
Life music. I like that. I like that. Well, we're going to make sure that people know where they can find your life music. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tay, for facilitating the conversation. Thank you, Chris, a.k.a. the hip-hop social worker. Yeah. And boy, this was a good one. Okay, so everybody go home and listen to some rap music. See what's up with it, right? It's healing.
All right, family, that's our show for today. Thank you so much for hanging with us. I love and appreciate you for it. God willing, we'll be back next week for more. In the meantime, make sure you take excellent care of yourselves. That's the only way you'll be able to take care of anyone else, which is our mission. When you think me, think we. When you think you, think too. See ya. Thanks to our presenting sponsor, Oregon Health Authority, helping people and communities achieve optimum physical, mental, and social well-being. And thanks to our supporting partners, Louisa, a community-centered event space in the heart of Northeast Portland, and Adorn Boutique for my fabulous wardrobe. Situations and Conversations is a Trey Renee production in conjunction with Thomas Chung Films.